friends, welcome to another episode of Killingly Public Library's craft videos. Today we're going to make a firecracker pick, and I'm calling it a pick. It has a point at the end. You could stick it in a flower arrangement. You could stick it in any table centerpiece, or maybe just your silverware caddy at a picnic. Anything just to dress up a little bit for our 250th celebration, or any summer celebration, red, white, and blue, right? So this firecracker I made with some scrap paper that I had, and I used some old tinsel from the Christmas trees and a little piece of pipe cleaner. So the part I used for my cylinder was something that the staff here at the library hand to me quite often. I believe they're from the cash register. The roll of receipt paper is on them. You could use perhaps the cardboard tube of saran wrap or aluminum foil, something along those lines. It's a little skinnier than, say, a toilet paper roll, which was the look I wanted. But if you don't care that it's a little thicker, a little wider in dimension, then you could certainly use paper towel or toilet paper roll to make your firecracker. But I'm going to use this. Use whatever you can find laying around your house. And I have, for this one, I'm going to use some blue glitter paper, making it a little different than that one, just to give you some ideas of, the flexibility of what you could do with it. So that one I used a printed star paper. It was red, white, and blue stripes. This one is just plain. I'm taking the end of my cylinder and I'm putting it down on another piece of paper that I have here. And I'm going to trace two circles, one for each end. I did have ends on this. I chose to go with white and not the starred paper that I was using. But when I trace my circle, I am going to hold the pen like this and go around. It won't be a perfect circle probably because my fingers will be in the way. I'll have to hold them and move them and make my circle. But by doing this, the pencil tip is just a little bit away from the edge of the cylinder, so I'll have a little bit of extra paper. I can fold it over the edge of my cylinder and hold it in place. So that is my thought process for that. There are my two circles. If you can tell, I'm not sure if you can see it well enough in the video to see that it is a little larger than my cylinder. We're just going to cut out our circles, and it doesn't matter if they're perfectly circular. Now that I have my circles cut out, I'm going to just take the scissors and snip just the very tip of the scissors and snip around just the very tip, so it's maybe, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch or so in. We don't want to use too much because we don't have a huge amount of excess paper to play with. We only had the width of the pencil from the edge of our cylinder. So a few little snips here and there around the edge. And that's just so I can glue this down, and it will bend over and allow me something to glue to the cylinder. And I'm just going to use hot glue. If you want to use something else, that's fine too. Something that will adhere to your surface. And before I glue it down, I'm using one of these skewers you use for the barbecue for the pick part of my firecracker, so that I can stick it in plants or whatever I'm going to do with it. But you can take and poke a hole through your paper kind of in the center. You will need one on each circle. Just be careful you don't poke your finger, and just poke it through. It's just, you have the point there to work with, so it's fine. And it's just a way to get the hole in. If you have a better way, you don't want a huge hole, so you don't want to use a hole punch unless you have a real skinny one, which I do not. All right, I'm going to do this other circle as well. Snip around the edge and poke a hole with my skewer in the middle. All right, so there's both of my circles. They have holes. It's fairly close to the center. It's all right if it's not. And I'm going to glue them onto my cylinders. The top one, before I glue it on, I am going to stick a piece of a pipe cleaner in the top for the little flame of my firecracker. So I'm going to stick it through, and just a very little bit on the back side, and I'm just going to fold that over and down, something like that, okay? And I'm going to put a bunch of hot glue right there, just so it sticks to it and keeps it from coming up through. We're just going to let that harden up, and then we can attach it to the cylinder. All right, my glue has hardened. I'm going to now glue around the edge of my circle, and I can stick it onto my cylinder and push the edges down to make sure that it glues on. I'm just going to glue right around the edges here. Pressing it down. Be careful you don't burn your fingers, because there's not a lot there to work with. So that is the top end, and now we'll work on the bottom end. So we'll take our other circle, and I'm just grabbing a bunch of tinsel out of this box. So I'm not measuring my tinsel, I just grabbed some, and I am going to take and glue it to the non-point end of my skewer. So what I did for the first one was I just put a little glue around the outside edge and on the top. And then I just wrapped it around. Now we're going to push the dull end, the end that we've wrapped the tinsel around, in through the end of our circle, the little hole we made. We're going to push that in there. If it matters which side of the paper you're using, you want the end to be popping up out through the part that's not going to show. So this is the part I'm gluing to my cylinder, so I'm pushing it in through the other side. So now we're going to put some glue here to just kind of hold it in place, just like we did the pipe cleaner end. So I've got a bunch of glue gobbed on to the end of this, and once it hardens, we will attach this to the cylinder. Once your glue is hard, you can then glue around the edge just like we did for the top, and we're going to push the glued edge up onto the cylinder to hold it in place. There, so the bottom is glued on as well, and you can also take some more glue just at the top here above your tinsel and add a little extra stability, and just in case. Now I have a piece of paper that I've cut to fit and glue around my cylinder. So I'm going to start by putting just a bead of glue all the way down the side, and that's going to include glue on my top and bottom circles that I've attached as well. And I'm just going to put the glue there with, using the hot glue. So you can see, I'll just run it down like so. So that is attached. Now I'm going to glue it around. Now for this other one, I just used a regular glue stick to attach it the rest of the way around. I put it in a few spots on the cylinder, and then where the paper was overlapping, I just added the glue. This one is cardstock and it's a little thicker, so I'm going to use the hot glue again. And also I'm looking at it here and I didn't cut it quite long enough, so I'm going to have a tiny gap, I think, at the end. Sorry. And there's my paper wrapped around. Don't look at the back. It's kind of messy back here, but oh well. Now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to take some of this baker's twine, and because I just wanted to give it a little bit more pizzazz, so I'm going to start in the back and just wrap around in a spiral design and glue it down. So something like that. That's it. Now I only glued at the top and the bottom. I wrapped it really tight and I think it will hold. But if you're not so sure about your design, if you choose to do something like that, then feel free to go ahead and glue in other spots. But it seemed secure enough. It's not like anyone's playing with it. I'm just making it as a decoration to add to some things for the summer celebration. Now the last thing I want to do is to take the wick of my firecracker, and I'm just going to kind of twist it around the pencil and to give it a little curl, and then I'm going to pull it up and play with it a bit here to just, yeah. So it's something like that. And that's it. That is all there is to making the firecracker pick. I hope you enjoyed today's craft, and I hope you have some great celebrations this summer, especially considering at the time of this filming, we are getting ready to celebrate the country's 250th anniversary. I would love to see your finished projects. Please share them with me at info@killinglypl.org. And until our next craft video, have a great day.